Hello and welcome to Bloodsport MMA.
Salam alaikum to everyone.
Dana White started a huge controversy and discussion in the MMA internet by announcing that Colby Covington will be next in line for a welterweight title shot against Leon Rocky Edwards. Now, what is my opinion on that? Who deserves a title shot? Who doesn't? What's the ranking there? Find it out in this video, guys. Before we get to that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers, guys. I'm really happy about the special will come. So keep subscribing, keep liking, keep commenting. Thank you so much, guys. So Colby Covington made weight as a backup and then was in attendance. And Dana White, after the event, said, but he said it before sometimes with some contenders, but this time he seemed as confident as ever. He said 100%, no discussion, Chaos is next.
You're next!
Now we have to see, why does he say that? Why is Chaos next? I don't believe they just randomly said, hey Colby, we like you so much, you are next. You deserve it so much, you have 10 wins in a row. No. There are several things that play into this, and there are also one or two conspiracies that could be possible that we don't know about. One conspiracy is, which would make sense, kind of. I don't know how the status is of the lawsuit, but if you know, you know, the Colby Covington Masvidal lawsuit, which is of course not good for the UFC because two of their fighters that should compete are involved in a lawsuit that involves brain damage and stuff, which prevents people from fighting whatsoever. Just huge BS for them. And I could see, I don't say it's true, I just say it could be, I would not be surprised if the UFC made an agreement with Colby that he will put down the charges, the lawsuit, whatever, that Masvidal can fight again and nothing happens. And in exchange for that, he gets a title shot if Leon wins that fight, which he obviously won. I could really see that being possible. Really. That would make sense for the UFC. And for Colby, of course, as well. Because I think Colby gets more money from a title shot and being a champion than from Masvidal from a lawsuit. But these are just assumptions. So otherwise, Colby Covington, of course, he made weight. He came in spontaneous as a backup, which definitely benefits him and gives him some plus points in the discussion for a next contender. But normally Dana White doesn't come after the event and say with that much certainty that you are next, even though you were the backup. Like Volkanovski, all these guys, he said, yeah, possibly they're next, but he never said 100% no other option. And this is, if there's no lawsuit thing, whatever agreement, that's kind of interesting and special because you have to see, you have Masvidal against Burns in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So this, of course, hey, don't get me wrong, Masvidal lost to Colby. We'll get to that in a second, but look, Masvidal and Leon have a huge backstory. And what the UFC wants is to sell pay-per-views. If Burns wins, I would see that they give him another fight either way, because Burns, Leon, a good fight, I would love to see, but you always have to think about what the UFC thinks, which is pay-per-views, selling fights. And Burns and Leon are both cool fighters that I really like, but the casuals are not too much into them. They're not these huge pay-per-view stars. They will not trash talk each other. You know what I mean? They will not make a huge thing out of it. Even though there would be a very good fight, and Burns definitely more deserving than Masvidal in my opinion. But of course, if Masvidal beats Burns, he beat a highly ranked contender, which then sets him up for a perfect fight against Leon Edwards. I would never agree that Masvidal deserves a title shot. Never. Even after Burns win, never. But because there is that backstory with the 3-piece in the soda that you might know about, otherwise Google it, Leon Masvidal backstage incident, whatever. It's a huge backstory, and Leon wants that fight. It's a striking fight that people love to see. This will sell huge pay-per-views because it's really personal beef that's like Habib Conor style. It would sell so good, and it would be smart for the UFC to book that. Now, but if you argue that Masvidal deserves a title shot or could deserve one after a win against Burns, you cannot argue that Colby deserves a title shot, because we have to see Who did Colby lose to? The only guys he ever lost to was Kamaru Usman 2 times, yes, 2 times, but the second one was a close decision. And Usman was the pound for pound number 1 for a long time. Usman was the best champion the welterweight division has ever seen after GSP. You know what I mean? He didn't lose against a bomb. So that's Colby's only loss in the last few fights. Was Kamaru Usman, no one else. He beat everybody else. Yes, he fought Masvidal, who is not number 3 or whatever. Yes. But he fought Masvidal because they had a backstory. He didn't fight Masvidal because he was afraid to fight anybody else. Just because that fight made so much sense and needed to happen. And he 50-45 Masvidal. He didn't let Masvidal any chance. He just dominated him from start to finish. In my opinion, Masvidal just fought for a title 2 fights ago. Colby beats him that dominantly. That, in my opinion, is enough to say, hey, you deserve a title shot. I don't say he needs to get one. There's no one else who deserves it more. But you cannot say Colby's not deserving. Colby wins against everybody that's not the champ. And Colby was the interim champ as well at one stage. So how can you not say that Colby could deserve a title shot? He 50-45 Masvidal, who is also in talks for a title shot again now. Who fought for a title 2 times as well. You know what I mean? He didn't beat the number 15 ranked contender. He beat Jorge Masvidal, who was that big of a draw. He's on the UFC 4 game on the cover. You know what I mean? People forget about that. Just because he made Masvidal look so bad doesn't mean that Masvidal is so bad. Just because Usman knocked Masvidal out doesn't mean Masvidal isn't good. Because Usman is just that good until Leon knocked him out. That good. So in my opinion, Colby is deserving. But of course, we also have to talk about some other names. Now, the most deserving of them all, in my opinion, would be Khamzat. Because Khamzat was guaranteed a title shot after he beat Burns, was guaranteed a title shot after he beat Holland, which initially would have been Diaz, and he never got a title shot. Yes, he missed weight against Holland, or Diaz, whatever you want to call it. Yes, I agree. I agree that could play a factor. But still, he showed that he can make the weight, and that he can... that he deserves to fight for a belt. And Khamzat, of course, gets a better treatment than other guys because he is that big of a pay-per-view draw. It's always about who can sell a fight. That's also an argument for Colby. Colby will sell that fight. Trust me, Colby will trash talk the living ass out of Leon. And that's, if you like it or not, you will tune in. If you want to see him getting knocked out, if you want to see him knock someone out, you will tune into that fight. Same with Khamzat. Khamzat backs it up in an octagon and at the same time sells a fight. Khamzat as a champion for the UFC would be so big. That would be a dream for the UFC. So he definitely deserves it, but they're planning for him to move up to middleweight, as I said in the Shafkat video, check it out. So we can put him out of the way right now. But if most deserving, in my opinion, he would be the one. But let's put him away for a second. Who, of course, is missing in this conversation? Belal Muhammad. Now, there is no argument or there is no discussion where you can talk about title contenders or deserving contenders without mentioning Belal. Belal is definitely deserving. But I would not be mad if Belal gets a title shot. I just don't think Belal beat the right guys for a title shot. And this is not even Belal's fault, because that's just how the UFC books him. Because the UFC, it always feels like they want to see him getting beat. Because Belal is not a guy that sells. The UFC does not want a guy that does not sell as a champion. You guys have to get that. There's a reason why Leon Edwards had to wait so long for his title shot. It's not just on chance. It's because Leon can't sell a fight. Leon could only sell a fight because of his knockout right now, because it's in the UK, all that stuff. It was not because of Leon, but it was because of that one knockout and because Usman was such a big draw. Leon cannot sell a fight. Belal cannot sell a fight. He tries to be funny on Instagram and stuff, but the people will never, or not never, but the people are not jumping on his bandwagon. And I don't have anything against Belal. It's just the MMA community is not in favor of Belal normally. So Belal does not sell. Belal is, because of that, not the favorite kid of the UFC. That's why the UFC books him against tough matchups that don't have the biggest names, that makes him fight top ranked contender all the times in fights that don't mean anything. You do not deserve a title shot for beating Sean Brady. I'm sorry. It's wrong to say you don't deserve, but there's not a strong enough argument for me. For me, if you beat a Sean Brady, yes, Sean Brady's a good win. But who did Sean Brady beat before you? What is Sean Brady's resume? You beat Wonderboy Thompson, okay, you beat a 40-year-old Wonderboy and just out-grappled him the whole time and didn't do anything. You beat Vincent Luque, that was a good win, but also you just run around the octagon circle and stuff. It was a good performance by Belal, but it was not entertaining, and it was not against a Colby Covington, against a Burns, against a Masvidal, against a big name. He only beat smaller names that somehow lurk around the top 15 division. You know what I mean? That's why Belal, for the UFC and for many fans, is not the guy to book for a title. I don't say he's not deserving. He's fighting anybody they put in front of him and he's beating everybody. He's definitely deserving in that regard, but not from the name value. And name value is very important when it comes to a title shot. And now look what the UFC does to him. They book him against Shavkat. In my opinion, if I'm Belal, I'm saying, no, what the heck? I just beat like 5 ranked guys in a row, and you put me against a guy that is ranked behind me, as far as I'm concerned, like a young killer. Why? Let me fight a Burns, let me fight a Usman. That's in my opinion also a fight that makes sense. Belal, Usman, winner gets another title shot, something like that. Let Belal fight a name that matters. Even if he beats Shavkat. If he beats Shavkat, he beat the high name, high value name, yes. But a high value name of someone that is behind him, that is coming up. Shavkat is, in my opinion, not at a title shot right now. Even if he beats Belal, in my opinion, he should have one more fight before a title shot. So for Belal, that's a completely stupid fight to accept. He has so much to lose and not much to win in that fight. So I kind of feel for Belal, but at the same time, he accepts the fight, so it's his destiny. But in terms of winning streak, of course, he's the deserving one. So as you see, like there are many names that could be potentially in the mix for title shot. I would not be mad if Burns fights for the title. I would not be mad if Belal fights for the title. I would not be mad if Colby fights for the title, and I would not be mad if Masvidal, if he wins against Burns in a spectacular fashion, not just by a weird decision, gets a title shot. If Masvidal knocks Burns out and Leon is a champion, Masvidal will get the title shot. But yeah, I think the UFC has some kind of interesting, weird, special agreement with Colby. I don't think they just, otherwise they would wait for Masvidal for that fight to how it turns out before they announce Colby. So we will see how that whole thing plays out, and that was my take on that whole situation. What is your take? Write in the comments, guys. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Write it all in the comments. Make sure that you get a title shot to eat your vegetables. Subscribe to the channel and like this video. Thank you so much, guys. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bloodsport out.
Eat your vegetables.